Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be continuing our conversation about the KTM 790 Adventure R. I've got a little over 250 miles now on this motorcycle, so I have some more well-formed thoughts and opinions about it so far that I'm going to share with you today. And I want to thank all of you for your extended interest in this topic and this motorcycle. Thank you for the views, thank you for the subscriptions. If you haven't already, be sure to click that subscribe button and the bell notification so that you get notified whenever we upload new videos. We're going to have a lot more coming on this bike as I have opportunities to ride it off-road, which should be about the time that you guys are watching this video. Additionally, a lot of you have been asking me for opinions about this compared to the KTM 1090 Adventure R, which I also own. I will be sharing that with you as soon as I feel that I'm in a position to do so. Bear in mind that I've had over 6,000 miles to form a relationship with my KTM 1090 Adventure R, and I've only had a couple hundred miles so far on this. So I don't want to mislead or misguide you guys because my opinion of this motorcycle is very likely to change as I get an opportunity to ride it more and more, and as I have an opportunity to ride it in more and more different situations. So as soon as I reach that point, I will be doing a video that is a direct comparison between these two motorcycles, so stay tuned for that. And again, click that subscribe button. To get started today, again, it's still very early on, but there are a few minor things that I already don't like so much about the 790R, and I'm going to start with those, and then we'll move on to the things that I do like because they are plentiful on this motorcycle. So the things that I don't like, probably first and foremost, is the tire choice that KTM went with on this. Now, bear in mind, this opinion may change with time. It could be that they're just not scrubbed in yet. It could just be that I'm not used to it. It could be that I need to just ride this more like a dirt bike and scoot forward a little bit in the seat, because the one that bothers me the most is the front tire. It tends to push a lot. So I'm going to give it an opportunity, but I suspect that when these wear out, I will probably be swapping them for something else, and that is a common thing that I've heard from other owners as well. So stay tuned. I'll let you guys know if they do scrub in fully and they start to feel better, or if I wind up ultimately swapping them for something else. Beyond the tires, another minor little complaint is the kill switch. Now, I suspect that this one is probably just a matter of getting used to it. I am used to, like most of you probably are, having an on-off switch and then a separate start switch. On the 790, it is one combined switch, so it takes a little bit getting used to. Up is for killing the bike, and then down is to turn it on, but also if you press it further, that is the start. So again, I suspect that's just going to take a little getting used to, and a very, very minor complaint. The next complaint that I have, and this is not specific to the 790 Adventure R, are these plastic handguards. All the manufacturers do it. I just wish that they would swap them and give you something right from the manufacturer that is a supported aluminum wraparound guard. But again, that's personal preference, so I can't complain too much about that. Probably my third and biggest complaint on this motorcycle so far is the seat. I like the shape of it, I like that it's narrow up front, but I don't like how firm it is. After a few miles, you do start to feel the stiffness of this seat, and so for me personally, I'll probably ultimately wind up swapping that out. There is a KTM offered aftermarket seat that is supposed to have a heat option to it, and I need to look into that a little bit further to see if it is designed to be a more comfortable seat than this stock one. If not, I may go with Seat Concepts or something like that, but that is one area that I really do not like on this motorcycle. Those are the main things so far, at least, though, that I don't like. The things I do like are plentiful, and they're becoming very obvious very quickly, and I'll touch on the first one, and that is just the difference between this and the 1090. Obviously, this is meant to be a more off-road oriented motorcycle, and even in the limited amount of off-road riding that I've done with it, I've already noticed a significant difference. The weight difference between these two, while you're riding, isn't that big of a deal because I've talked about this in the past. The 1090 rides much, much smaller than what it is. But I took a trip through the woods and I wound up trying to cross a small downed tree, and I didn't quite have the right approach, and it turned out there was another tree underneath it, which made the stack of the two taller than what I was expecting. I wound up high centering the motorcycle on the skid plate and it was stuck. In this particular situation on the 790, I was able to simply step off the left-hand side of the motorcycle, grab the handlebar, grab the grab rail, and pull the motorcycle the rest of the way over these little logs. Another nice little thing that I like about this motorcycle that again just shows you the level of engineering and thought that went into these motorcycles, and again ties into my personal experience with the 1090 Adventure R, is I have previously drowned my 1090R crossing a river, and that has to do with the air intakes. The air intakes on the 1090 are up here and they point forward. That creates two significant challenges, the first of which is the amount of dust that can come in there, especially if you're riding in a group. KTM sells pre-filters. I have those on my 1090. They're little socks that go over the air inlets and keep that dust from making their way into the air inlet tubes. But when I was crossing the river, because they're facing forward and because of their location, the front end went in below the water, sucked water in through the intakes, and that was the end of that day for the KTM 1090 Adventure R. They've obviously thought this through on the 790 Adventure R. The air box is directly underneath the seat here. And additionally, not only did they place the air box there where it's easy to get to, but they also thought about this water crossing scenario. I'm confident that that's what inspired the design. Coming out of the airbox are two air inlet tubes. They travel backwards towards the back of the motorcycle. By doing so, they accomplish two distinct goals. First and foremost, they're facing backwards on the motorcycle, so dust and debris is far less likely to get into the airbox because it would have to go against the airflow to travel down those tubes. The other distinct advantage to this is by them angling up, they wind up at one of the highest points on the motorcycle, which I am confident is a design, or if it's not by design, it's a happy accident. It keeps you able to cross deeper waters because again, those air inlets are almost at the level of exhaust, so you can go through deep water and not have as much concern. And again, even if you did drown the motorcycle, it is far easier to get to the airbox and to get to the engine on this motorcycle than it is on the 1090 Adventure, and that's simply because of how much bodywork is around the motorcycle. So really, really pleased with that, really, really like that design, and it just ties into a bunch of clever ideas. The next of which is these little side panels here. So they did something pretty neat. They put the toolbox in a little compartment behind those side panels. It's a completely toolless removal. You simply take the key out, you put the key in to remove the seat. Two push pins here, you pop those out, pull this forward, and behind there is a little compartment where the toolkit is. Now they could have stopped there, but they took it a step further. In addition to the hefty toolkit, which KTM is one of the best manufacturers in my opinion for offering good toolkits with the motorcycle, they put a similar compartment on this side over here, so that if you're taking longer trips and you want to pack some tire spoons and things like that, you have an option to do so on this side of the motorcycle. And it does help to even the weight out a little bit, because if you have some tools on this side and some tools on this side, the motorcycle remains balanced. So once again, just small little details that I think really highlight what this motorcycle is engineered and designed to do. Pretty clever. Moving on, one thing that I wasn't sure about, and I didn't know if I would even like it, is the Tft display. Obviously, when I bought the 1090, the 1290s had this option as well, and it was personally one of the things that turned me more towards the 1090. I was very nervous about these displays, and unfortunately in the 790 you do not have an option. However, I will say that I've been pleasantly surprised by this Tft display. It is very readable in all sunlight and all conditions, which I honestly did not expect. Because of that, it's very easy to navigate the menus, it's very easy to see and get your trip information, get your odometer information, see the riding modes that you're in, the traction control. The menus are just much easier because of that Tft display. So as a unfortunate byproduct of not having an option, I wound up with this display and I'm really happy with it. So that's a surprise and a good one. Tying into the display is the riding modes, and again, this is something that I think has been very, very well executed. On my 1090 Adventure R, I have the dongle that allows you to shut the key off and turn it back on, and when you do that, you won't lose the riding mode or the traction control settings that you were in before power cycling it. On the 790 Adventure R, if you go into rally mode and you turn the motorcycle off and back on, it stays in rally mode. So it keeps your traction control settings, it keeps your throttle response settings, all of those things are maintained through a power cycle, which is a very significant improvement in my opinion. The other thing that I really like is that now they have the option to change those settings on the fly, so you can change riding modes, you can change throttle response, and as you do that, all you have to do is close the throttle. You do not have to come to a stop. You do not have to put the motorcycle in neutral. And so that makes it very easy to adjust the motorcycle while you're riding and as conditions are changing. Subsequently, another key thing to all of this is that it offers a great deal of flexibility to set this motorcycle up the way that you personally like it. For example, I've been playing around with the off-road throttle response and the rally throttle response. Like many others, when I first tried the rally throttle response, it was a little too snappy for my liking. So I switched to the off-road throttle response mode, and I've really enjoyed riding in that mode. It's extremely smooth, extremely easy to control, and very similar in my opinion to the throttle response on the 1090, which I've grown to love. As well as when you're in rally mode, you can quickly adjust the level, not just traction control on or off, or on-road or off-road, but through very fine-tuned controls and very simple controls of up and down on the left handlebar, you can quickly change those modes and adjust the level of traction control that's going to the rear wheel, and I really do like that. So overall, the clutch has been working just fine. I initially thought that I would want the hydraulic clutch, and I probably still do want that, but it doesn't bother me at all, at least in the mileage that I've put on the motorcycle so far. In the TFT display, I'll call out the fuel gauge. I'm not sure if it's a problem or if it's just the design of this fuel tank, but it doesn't seem to go down proportionally. So with a full tank at about 100 miles, it typically only goes down 1. So I'm not sure if the fuel gauge is not working. The other thing that is really a clever little engineering, and I like that they thought about it right from the manufacturer, is that they offer you a spot right up here for your GPS. There's a cap there. SW Motec makes a mount. I'm waiting for that to become available through US distributors. As soon as it does, I'll be ordering one of those up, and I'll let you guys know how that works. In the meantime, I use the same ram mount trick that I've seen others do online, but slightly different. I removed the cover plate, I drilled one hole, and Ram offers a small ram mount that has a female quarter 20. I drilled the hole, I used a quarter 20 bolt through there into the ram mount, used some thread locked it in there, and then remounted the plate with the ram mount on there, and so I have my GPS up here. I'll be giving that a try to see how it works. The other nice thing is that your 12-volt accessory is up by where that mount is, so even if you don't want to hardwire the GPS, you've got a nice consolidated solution right up there in your line of sight. Again, I'm only at 266 miles, so it's still very, very early on for me. I will continue to post updates. I will continue to update our website with blog posts as I put more miles on this and ride it in off-road conditions to give you guys more feedback in those scenarios. And eventually, when I get that opinion formed between this and the KTM 1090 Adventure R, I will be putting together that direct comparison video as well. So again, if you haven't already, be sure to click the subscribe button, be sure to click the bell notification so you get notified whenever we upload new videos. And if you don't already follow us on social media, be sure to check us out. Instagram, KDE Motorsports, Twitter, KDE Motorsports. We have a Facebook page, KDE Motorsports, and then of course, kdemotorsports.com. So be sure to check all of those out. And until next time, take care and ride safe.